Hi, my name's Zach, and I'm making another video today about my summary on the pages 20 through 38 of Plessy vs. Ferguson and 62 through 82 of The Mismeasure of Man. I'm going to be keeping up this theme where I wear a new hat every time I make a new video, just to slightly entertain the viewer a little bit. I'm just going to dive right in. I'm reading directly from the notes that I had taken as I read each of these. Okay, I'm starting off with Plessy vs. Ferguson. Okay. Rulings over the 14th Amendment showed how narrow the 13th Amendment's rulings actually were in a Supreme Court case, the U.S. versus Crookshanks. It was ruled that the 14th Amendment couldn't be used to cover one man. It was a wide scope thing, and specifically it was meant for African Americans. It was found that the 14th Amendment also was could only be used for problems of civil rights, not political rights, or something of that sort. Many cases occur that cause questions of how to interpret civil rights, or political rights, or how to truly understand the 13th through 15th Amendment. It's without one Supreme Court case clashing to another Supreme Court case. During Plessy v. Ferguson, Tourget is the one who says, "The court should really be colorblind to better support equality." He even declares color as a form of property. It was Justice Harlan who outlined citizenship in America and how equal but separate laws didn't really make sense. Pretty self-explanatory. How all this stuff kind of collided with one another, these different ideologies, and how the amendments kind of didn't make sense at first. But as, time went on, they began to understand it better. Make it work to where it works today. Now I'm going into the mismeasure of men. Okay. Racial prejudice, biological determinism. They are not new things. These concepts are centuries old. A theory about African enslavement was that the white man saw Africans as inferior to us and easy to force to work, biologically justified as slaves. Our founding fathers even saw Africans as inferior to white males. Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, they saw them as inferior. Even Abraham Lincoln, who put out the Emancipation Proclamation, which set slaves free, he, to an extent, saw African Americans as inferior to white males. Granted, he did give credit to those that fought in the Civil War on his side, that they did very well, but at the same time he also did see a certain point of inferiority towards them. Let's see. Other famous people throughout history, famous names like George Cuvier, Charles Lyell, even Charles Darwin, they all saw African Americans as an inferior race. Pre-evolutionary justification. This is the explanation of where everyone came from. First is monogenism. Monogenism? The explanation of one source, aka Adam and Eve. All man came from Adam and Eve, just two people. And we all degenerated from the perfection that was Adam and Eve. And how different races happened, majorly was explained by the different climates. At one point someone tries to explain how Africans are more comfortable in the South because the South is warm just like Africa where they came from, the same climate. Let's see. The other argument is polygyny. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing these right, but it's whatever. Where man came from several different Adams and Eves from several different places globally. And once again, the distinction among them all was caused by the climate and the area that they originated from. Many men use different ideas to put groups together, like étant seres, classifying people by navels and other things. Or there was also another famous name, Charles White, who would classify them by some reason. Louis Agassiz, I think, believed in polygyny. His research was signified in in the field at his time, he believed people stuck to the place that they originated. Also, he would split groups of people or objects, or animals even, based on the small, minute distinctions among them. He denounces the Bible and monogamy because it only explains the birth of Caucasians, nothing to do with the groups that were yet unknown to the ancients, because at that time not a lot of people knew the Africans, not a lot of people knew the Asians. They knew about them, but they weren't really referred to in the Bible. It mostly was the Caucasians that it described. During the Civil War, he thought that there should be a prominent black community, but it should remain separate from the other Southern society. As I mentioned before, he's the one who believed that the Africans were more comfortable in the South because the climate was closer to Africa. And he wanted the African Americans to have a community inside the South, while the white man would kind of stay along the coast. Eventually, in his old age, Agassiz got dismissed for being, his old ways of thinking. Now, how these connect? Just stuff about prejudice over African Americans, really. How we think they should be or act, the civil rights, what we decide is civil, like how we view them as actual people. The white man deciding that they're actually a race that deserves the same rights as a white man. I think it's very important, of course it's very important that civil rights and all this stuff happened at the time.